Hello, I'm Maciej from EONEA talking about data loss prevention. In the last couple of weeks, there was release of TrueNAS GoldenEye. It was 25.10 in release candidate. So we will not install it on our production, but we can test it. And with that version, there was included NVMe-over-Fabric. And the question is, should we replace our old good iSCSI with this new NVMe-over-Fabric? That's the good question. Let's discuss about that. But first, sponsored part.
If you need our support in designing, implementing or maintaining infrastructure related to virtualization, remote access or TrueNAS storage, feel free to contact us. If you don't need our support but you like what we do, like and subscribe, you know the drill. Thanks, and now let's get back to the technical details.
On the beginning, I would like to highlight that figures in that material wasn't measured, they are estimations. So on the beginning, let's compare iSCSI and NVMe-over-Fabric. iSCSI is the protocol invented about 20 years ago. And then we have only physical disk, the spinning disk with the heads on it. So head was able to be in only one place in one time. So that is obvious that there was the only one queue to read and write data. It doesn't matter how many applications, how many processes was tried to reach the disks. All that information was in one queue. In modern disks, especially NVMe's, we have many queues. It's big advantage of that disks. They are able to read and write more or less in parallel. So in this case, iSCSI make no sense. That's why NVMe-over-Fabric was invented from the scratches to be able to handle multi-threading. It's able to handling asynchronous request. It's much simpler. It gives us much less overhead of information. So our data is much faster exchanged. What is the result? It's much more IOPS, much less latency. We have decrease of overhead CPU on the side of server and on the side of client on the protocol. So question is, should we switch all our iSCSI to NVMe-over-Fabric? Not yet. Not always. It makes no sense in some cases. Let's discuss about that. When we have physical HDD disks, more or less latency to reach to data on that disk is about 5 milliseconds. Overhead for iSCSI transmissions, it's around 0.2 milliseconds. So when we get the sum, the latency to access to that disk via network will be 5.2. So it makes no sense to try to reach, let's say, 5.05 or 5.01. Make no sense. But modern disks and NVMe's are able to reach about 0.05 milliseconds. So if we have 0.05 milliseconds, if we will try to add it, the iSCSI latency about 0.2 milliseconds, that will give us the 0.25. That means that most of our latency is created by network. This is the place when we should start thinking about it. And overhead of NVMe-over-Fabric will be around 0.05 milliseconds. It's huge different in that case, because when we have NVMe, the difference between NVMe over iSCSI and NVMe over Fabric will be comparing 0.25 and 0.1. It's huge difference. So when we should start or shouldn't start to think about that? We shouldn't start to think about that when we're using only spinning disks. It makes no sense. Also, when our network is, I don't know, 1 gigabit, 2.5 gigabit, or even 10 gigabit, it makes no sense to switch it. Even we have NVMe disk and NVMe over Fabric transmission protocol, because saturation 10 gigabits probably will not give, as a result, we will not have a let's say, necessary boost. Now, when we should or we could start to think about it, and when it will give us the biggest boost. When we have NVMe pool, 25 gigabits plus network, and also we are using, let's say, latency sensitive application like databases, like caching, like indexing, and stuff like that. In that case, switching iSCSI to NVMe over Fabric on NVMe disks will give us a real boost. Moreover, when we have just HDD disks, and we have TrueNAS, and we have a lot of RAM, and we have NVMe L2 ARC, in that cases, even when we have classic HDD disks, we will be able to reach boost because of data are in RAM and data are in L2 ARC. In that case, it depends on how much heat you will have. It could be, let's say, we could feel the boost, I don't know, 10, 20, 30%, depend on how much heats we will have. Worth to mention is that on NVMe over Fabric, we have, let's say, two technologies. First will be TCP over, NVMe over TCP. In that case, we don't need additional hardware. We could use our standard network and it will just works. And the second one, it's NVMe over RDMA. In that case, we need to additional hardware or even a dedicated network. Comparing those two, NVMe over TCP and NVMe over RDMA, NVMe over RDMA, it's, let's say, faster, but it's not as big difference. It's not as big difference as between NVMe over Fabric and iSCSI. Okay, that's it. I hope it was helpful. Write a comment if it was interesting, and thanks.
Thanks for staying till the end. Remember, if you need our support in designing, implementing, or maintaining infrastructure related to virtualization, remote access, or TrueNAS storage, feel free to contact us. If you don't need our support, but you like what we do, like and subscribe, you know the drill. Meanwhile, we invite you to watch other materials or maybe see you later. Thanks. Bye.